Hello, guys. Welcome to this new edition of Mind Podcast. This is Aadit Kapadia. Welcome. It's been so great to see you guys. We're back with what Mind Podcast does the best. Live, not I would I should say live, but election analysis,
No, we
politics.
are prepping for the live. I can see that bubbly excitement on your face,
Yes,
Aadit.
we are prepping for the live, and I got a great guest with me today. I got my good friend, Director of VMR, psephologist, political analyst Jay Mrug joining me from Mumbai. Hi Jay, how are you doing?
Hey, Aadit, all fine. I'm so excited. And, after a lot of time, you actually got me serious. I
Acha.
started reading.
I see. So no, here is the thing. Na, for if you think for podcasters and psephologists, coffee is caffeine, then you're wrong. Coffee is the medium. Numbers are the real caffeine, right?
No,
So
numbers are, and, it's very interesting. Like, so, other day in the evening, I was
yeah,
having coffee and cake. My,
yeah,
my daughter baked some cake.
yeah.
And then I realized, yeah, caffeine is important. And the whole talk we do around it, that's the cake. So, we're
Yeah,
going to have both of
that
them.
is the cake. Absolutely, absolutely. So, if you guys are wondering what the hell we're mumbling about for the last 75 seconds, basically, we are going to do an entire show just on the West Bengal elections. Last week we did one show on Kerala, and hopefully I'll do one on Tamil Nadu as well. It's like a preview because a lot of people are asking me. So rather than doing one big 2-hour podcast on 5 different states, I have decided to do 30-minute podcasts on key issues in each state. So we are able to focus a lot more on that. We are able to look at the numbers. We are able to look at what is going on. And the reason why I really wanted Jay for this podcast is that if there is ever an election all about numbers more than even chemistry, it is the West Bengal election, right? And the reason I say that is the numbers make no sense if you look at them, right? In 2014, you had the BJP getting 17% of the vote and getting 2 Lok Sabha seats. Everyone was expecting them to get at least 20 Vidhan Sabha seats in 2016, but they only got 3. And they got about 10-11% of the vote, right? If I'm not mistaken. And then you go on
10.16.
10.16, close enough, yeah. The people, our viewers are wondering what are they correcting each other for? 10 to 11% of the vote is
No, guys, this is that little sadistic numeric pleasure we all live for. So you should excuse us
exactly.
for it.
Exactly. And then you go to 2019 Lok Sabha, which rewrote all the electoral calculations in West Bengal, where BJP got 18 Lok Sabha seats. I mean, it is unbelievable. And even their vote share, if you look at it, it was 40.7%. Only 2.5%.
They were about 40.39 or something, about 3% behind the Trinamool. About 3% behind the Trinamool.
3%. But I thought with the NDA, I don't know if they left any seats for NDA or something. I was just going by what the
Yeah.
Wikipedia tabulations were
Yeah.
based on ECI. But regardless, there was a swing of almost 22% from the last Lok Sabha. So the insane part is that you had the assembly election almost like as a weird low point in this graph of BJP, which was going up. And what we are here to discuss is the 2021 election.
Hang on. You hit the bullseye. You hit
Yeah,
the bullseye.
no, but 1 second, I'll just complete this one point. So we are here to compile whether the 2021 elections are going to be a higher point on the graph or is it going to be another low point. So now I'm going to give it to Jay for that.
No, first of all, let's keep one thing in mind.
Yeah.
Right from 2014, barring Uttar Pradesh, in every other state election, the BJP's vote share has somewhat come down from the Lok Sabha election. Uttar Pradesh was an exception. You look at Bengal in the same light. 2014 about 17%, 2016 about 10%. So the first part is what happened after 2016, right? And one thing, one of the strange trend I observed, Aadit, it's a very rarely commented upon trend, okay, which is that after demonetization in the eastern parts of India, which are relatively less developed, the BJP picked up and started doing very well. So 2 stories for the BJP which grew after 2016. One was Bengal, the other was Odisha. Okay, that's part. Now the question is, can you really break through? Okay, based on a fantabulous Lok Sabha performance, right? Which is like, close to 40%, giving Mamta a run for her money, 22 versus 18. Let's look at it this way. I'll go back a little bit in history. The BJP's first breakthrough in the south, Karnataka, 1991 Lok Sabha elections, the party polls 30% of the vote. 3 years later, in 1994, the party polls 16.7, 17%.
Almost half.
Almost close to half, but comes to par as a principal opposition. Its tally goes up from 4 to 40.
Yeah.
Right? So the question is, one thing is given that in a Vidhan Sabha election, the numbers tend to decline for the BJP. Question is, how much can be the decline and why should there be a decline first? Second is there a question of leadership? Now, what happened in Karnataka in 1994? There was a Ram Krishna Hegde and a Deve Gowda, people at that point of time who had a much more towering personality than Mr. Yediyurappa. So they sort of pulled the ground together, said this is essentially a Janta state, it's a Janta versus Congress. BJP stood somewhere third, far behind. Now, that's not the case in Bengal today. So that is a benefit. Today in Bengal, it's Mamta versus rest. Much like in Karnataka, it was, Congress versus rest, Moily versus rest in 1994. It's something. So that advantage the BJP has, in Bengal. It's not like now competing with somebody for the non-Trinamool space. The numbers that you missed out. The left and the Congress put together in the 2019 Lok Sabha were 11 or 12%.
11
so,
or 12, yeah.
Yeah, so they're out. They're out of the contest. Clearly,
No, you only said now when we were talking about this off the record, Jay was saying left and Congress alliance. He thinks 0 plus 0 is still equal to 0.
Yeah, I mean, so because now that's the untalked of swing. They have gone down from 38% in 2016 to 11% in 2019, minus 27% down, which is clearly most of it going to the BJP.
Absolutely.
Now let's start from there. So then we start that BJP has one advantageous point. So point number one, tick mark, good for the BJP, that it's not like the situation it was facing in the 90s where there were other parties competing for the ground.
Correct.
It's clearly on the run and there is one challenger. But that's very clear. So that is advantage BJP. Now what's not advantage BJP? We have to look at the data from both the sides. What is not advantage BJP is currently, I was just going through all the results assembly seat by assembly seat. Your performance is very lumpy. So the BJP fares well in the hills. Come down near Jangipur, Balurghat, the performance dwindles. In Jangipur and Murshidabad, the party almost has a very, negligible presence. Most interesting part, is that you come down further to the areas closer to Calcutta, which are the Bhadralok areas. Okay. Yeah. In the Mathua dominant places, that is where the scheduled caste voters and especially the Dalits who came from Bangladesh, where they dominate, like Rana Ghat, Bongao, BJP picks up.
So here, just to give our viewers this, we are looking at, and I'm sorry, SoundCloud people, for about few minutes, a lot of people are listening to us on audio. We're going to share the data. This is 2016 Lok Sabha, and I just want you guys to take a look. This is the 2016 Lok Sabha right here. 2016 Assembly. Look at 2019 Vidhan Sabha. Look at the transformation. Right, the saffron is a BJP, the green is a Mamata. Of course, she swept Kolkata, but this is Lok Sabha. In Vidhan Sabha, BJP would pick up a few seats here. But look at what Jay is saying. Look at the contrast. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Now that is what I'm saying. Now what has happened is, these are the 42 Lok Sabhas. Aadit, you can just hold on this graph here. And next time round when we do, we are developing detailed maps on Bengal, Kolkata, Tamil Nadu, everything. I think we'll do a lot of.
I apologize, we're using Wikipedia, guys, but this is the quickest way to show you on this podcast. So before you guys steamroll me, why the hell are we sharing Wikipedia? This is the quickest way to show you.
Aadit, about 2 months from now, we'll get our own software in place. We will be good at that.
So take our viewers through this.
So look at it. It's very fascinating. You have all the hill seats up. Darjeeling, Cooch Behar, Alipurdwar, Jalpaiguri, Malda, the border districts, which actually had a lot of transaction with Bangladesh, right? Right there up to Raiganj, Balurghat, Malda Uttar, Malda Dakshin. Okay. This is the belt, which is wonderfully two sections. One is the hill people who are asking for a separate state. And the other is a section which did have a close transaction with Bangladesh. Okay. That completely goes to the BJP. It's complete. Now you come to the other sections of the map that you're looking. You're looking at the West. Okay. You're looking at the West where you're actually seeing that the BJP is picking up a lot of those tribal seats. This is Jhargram, this is Bolpur, this is
And,
Bishnupur, the entire Jangal
and
Mahal
let's
area.
and let's say these are also bordering with Bihar and Jharkhand. These areas.
Well, see, that's what's very interesting. I'll give you a very important facet. So you have, this is more like a scheduled tribe belt. Now you come to the eastern small patch you see over there, the saffron patch on the east. Yeah, that is Batua and Bongaon. Okay, this is more like again Bangladeshi refugees. But either the biggest challenge for the BJP, which this map reflects, is you see the bottom is Kolkata, Greater Kolkata, industrialized Kolkata, and the southern Delta Plains. This is basically the Bhadralok area.
Yeah,
and that's where the BJP did not break through.
And this is what I want. This is what I want our people to look at. So see, these are all your Damdam, Barasat, all these people, all these seats, right? These are all Trinamool Congress strongholds. Your Jayanagar, Mathurapur, Diamond Harbour, Jadavpur, Kolkata Dakshin, Kolkata Uttar, all these. But especially places like Kolkata Dakshin, Kolkata Uttar do have bands where the BJP is strong in certain assembly seats. So and let me ask you this.
I tell you what. Now again over there, okay, the BJP led by about 4,000 votes in Jora Sanko. Okay, the key is now in Bhawanipur, which is Mamta's own seat, where the BJP led in 2014. In 2019, the BJP trailed by about 4,000 votes. I'm talking of assembly seats within the Lok Sabha.
Correct.
Okay. So that's the key. Now, this is where the twofold challenge for the BJP is. First, the performance is lumpy in terms of assembly seats. So even if you take assembly seats that it has won in the northern part of Bengal, okay, there are 2 or 3 seats where it puts a fantabulous performance. And there are about 4 or 5 in Bengal. 7 assembly seats make up on Lok Sabha, and there are some other 4 or 5 where it's like, oh yeah, I'm still a little far behind.
I think where they have to be careful is these. Look at these margins here near Bashira, Jayanagar, Mathurapur. All these are 1 lakh or excess. Few are even 2 lakh or more. So these are the TMC strongholds, right? Last time, because of Locket Chatterjee, they picked up Hooghly. A lot of people were not expecting them to win Hooghly by that much, but they did. But that's where they have to be. And what Jay was telling is, look at here, Cooch Behar, Alipurdar. BJP is, look at Darjeeling, right? 4 and because of the GJM and the alliance, 4 lakh votes. So they should completely run the table up in Malda, Uttar, and stuff, except for like 1 or 2 seats here and there.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Now look at the margins in Raiganj, Balurghat. These are narrow, 60, 33. This is the lumpy performance I'm referring to. So actually, within those Lok Sabhas, there has been many strong contests in many Vidhan Sabhas.
Yeah,
even when you go lower into the southern Delta Plains, the areas where they have welcomed Mr. Suvendu Adhikari, okay, then in many places at the Vidhan Sabha level, the contests were very strong. Margins like 4,000 and 7,000 were very common on either side. So that's what gives a keenness to the contest.
And let's not forget, so you have Malda Dakshin here, right? Which is, I think, about 52% Muslim, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or 50 to 52%. So you have the Congress in the left and the TMC competing for the Muslim vote, and BJP almost getting a 85% strike rate in the Hindu vote. Right, out of 48%, they need to get almost 85% of that to get 34%. So even if they assume you get the 2 or 3% of the Muslim vote, that's an 80% of the Hindu vote that they are getting. So, so when you look at it assembly segment wise, they're picking up. There are at least 2 or 3 assembly seats here. So
so again, I'll give you a breakup of this Lok Sabha itself. I just went through data in the evening. As I said, you finally got me to read a lot. So even there are about 2 or 3 Lok Sabhas, especially the Malda town ones, where they've done Vidhan Sabhas, where they've done very well, and then in the surrounding areas they've been completely like far a distance behind the Trinamool or the Congress.
Exactly.
So that's been the real challenge.
Because I think last time also Madarihat is where they won 2016, and then
Sorry, you can go down and check the seats.
No, so I was looking at Madarihat, and then I mean, as you can see, they only won 3. So you have to do one is the Khagarpur Sadar that Dilip Ghosh won, which they're Kharagpur Sadar, which they're going to win again because Dilip Ghosh is. But they should do a lot better in Alipurdar, Asansol, all these. But look at, I mean, they came second in almost 7 to 8 seats, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And you see in a lot of tribal belt, Rahul Sinha again, Jorasanko, Rahul Sinha should, coast through. Again, Bashir Hat Dakshin, like what Jay was saying. So, I mean, just looking at, because BJP is in again another. So about 8 to 9 seats, BJP came second, and I'll stop sharing screens for a minute. Basically, you're looking at least those 12, 15 seats that they'll pick up. And apart from that, so let's talk about numbers. What do you think? How many seats can BJP pick up if it were to just, elections were to be held today without polling, just anecdotally and based on the data you've seen?
Look, I would say one thing. They have worked very hard again after the Lok Sabha as well. Getting a lot of leaders on the ground that matter, getting them on their side. Mr. Suendu Adhikari, Mr. Mondal, many others. I think the BJP should be within a fair striking distance of 100.
Fantastic. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the key is like how that journey from 100 to 140 happens. Whatever be the claims of their leaders, that's a challenging journey. But a number like that, with the amount of effort that is being put on the ground, doesn't seem unreasonable. And I tell you again, it's more than the numbers; it's the chemistry. There is no one to occupy the anti-Mamta space at. There is no Hegde, no Devegade. There's no regional leader left who's going to occupy that space. Left in Congress, whatever they talk, I mean, they were about 11 to 12% in the Lok Sabha. They can't scale up another beyond 14, 15. That's the end of it.
So have you seen this old Prakash Jha movie called Satyagraha? No, it's not Satyagraha. Is it Satyagraha? It's about the education policy, right? So there is a Manoj Bajpayee's character who says, there is a very famous line saying, "Aap the zero, aap hai zero, or aap rahenge zero." So left plus Congress from 2014 to 2020, that has been the transition. कि वो थे zero तब 2014 में, वो है zero और रहेंगे zero.
See, I tell you, the most interesting part is the left. It's a precipitous fall. Let's not forget, in 2006 they had a stupendous victory under Buddhadev Bhattacharya. Today, 15 years later, we are talking whether they're going to survive or not. In 39 out of 42 Lok Sabha seats, they forfeited their deposits.
Wow.
So it is just a game of survival. And, as I said, two losers just adding up, maybe saving a couple of their bastions. That's all it's going to be about. So it is essentially a TMC versus BJP battle.
So 2006, the left won 176 seats. Mamata won about 30, and that was in alliance with the BJP. And let's not forget, in 2001, Mamata won 60 and left won 143. So there was a significant drop in Mamata's vote share. And the Congress won 26 Vidhan Sabha seats. And I mean, so left.
See, there's one thing that the viewers need to know, Aadit. And that is the left won 2006 on the back of a lot of puzzling data. I mean, I'm just being kind in my words. There were many seats with a more than 95% turnout, unimaginable in any part of India. There were some seats with a close to 100% turnout.
Yeah.
And the chief election commissioner, who had got his act right in Bihar in 2005, Mr. K.J. Rao said, he said that I'm really working, I'm not quoting him exactly, but he said, look, there is a different result you could expect in Bengal. If you just Google for Mr. K.J. Rao's statements, you'll get his statement. According to me, whatever sort of politics that people today hold the Trinamool responsible for is an inheritance of the left.
Absolutely.
And the 2006 was the epitome of that politics.
And I misspoke. So 176 was the CPM number. I think if you count all the left alliance, it was 230 out of 294. So it was.
Yes.
Since they love quoting North Korea, it was almost a North Korean Russian level majority that left had in West Bengal.
Yeah, no, you see, that is that was the secret of the left's success in Bengal. So many years, there was clearly a very effective party machinery at work, and this was the epitome of their performance. And it was like, I would say it was a swan song. After that, that performance never came back.
Then I mean, they lost one. I mean, they lost. They were down to like I don't know in 2000. If you look at the 2011 results, where the Congress and the Trinamool Congress fought in alliance, they got 228 and these guys got 60. So it was literally a swap, right? And BJP just got like 1 or 2, I think 3 seats after all. Gorkhaland and GJM got 3 seats. So it was, I mean, pretty much it was over, right? But you look at what happened in 2016, and I'm going to ask you a very important question. Congress emerged as a senior partner because it did well in the Muslim belt, where you had your what's his name, who's their leader in the Lok Sabha, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, in the Maltaha areas. I think they got 40 odd seats, and left only got like 30 seats, right? So is the reason the left doing so bad is the complete isolation of the Hindu vote from the left, and the Congress is holding on to the Muslim vote bank in parts, right? And few Hindu votes here and there. So you get about UP mein hota hai, right? You get about, in a few seats, you get about 40-50% of the Muslim vote and about 10% of the Hindu vote, which is why you still get your 30-35 MLAs. But then complete erosion has happened in other seats. Is that happening, you think?
Yeah, see, it's a very interesting phenomenon now. In the Lok Sabha, ironically, so clearly the Congress did well in that belt in the Lok Sabha. Whatever it picked up, though Deepa Asmunchi completely, like, she lost her deposit. The Trinamool won that seat. Yeah. However, not Trinamool, sorry, I think the BJP won that seat.
BJP. No, I'm talking. 2014 Trinamool did. 2019 BJP did. Yeah.
BJP did. So what is very interesting is that these are pockets that have their own leadership, which has been groomed over many years. Mr. Ghanigan Chaudhary's descendants. Yeah. Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, the late president's son. Yeah. He was there in one of those seats, though he lost this time. So they have a leadership there which is groomed over years. Yeah. And clearly the minority factor is at work. The vote is polarized very clearly. And only some. So BJP just does poorly in that belt, and the rest of the areas the BJP picks up, well, these parties do poorly. However, what is most interesting to note is that this election had 3 minority candidates of the BJP.
Yes.
Absolutely. 1 Christian and 2 Muslims in the Lok Sabha.
Not just that, and a lot of close number 2s BJP also, like from Jangipur, Pranab Mukherjee's seat, BJP's candidate was Mafuja Khatun.
Yes, and she was a close number 2.
Yeah, right. She lost by 2 lakh votes, but in a seat that is so heavily dominated, but that's a BJP coming number 2 itself is a big thing.
One very important thing which I have now come to note, Aadit, just last month I was speaking to a very senior politician from Kerala, and he told me that, and this was a very in-confidence conversation, so I won't mention his name or which party he was from. But, he said that, look, we are all mentally prepared that 2026 will be BJP. I said, how can that happen in Kerala? And he said, look, people will align with them for their local commercial interests. That's why Mr. Abdullah Kutty has become vice president of BJP. Okay. So I take a very pragmatic look at politics. I believe even beyond the communal polarization. See, India, as a democracy, it's a very different stage of evolution. It's a very different stage of evolution it's come to. Even in many cases, the minorities know that polarization chal raha hai. Okay, but when it comes to commercial interest, they go in a particular direction. So it'll be surprising, but you will find Muslim and Christian candidates on the BJP putting up good performance. There might be some local, absolutely practical act in consideration over there.
No, I actually agree with you on that. The reason is my joke was going to be that when we have 2 Gujaratis on Mind podcast, we expect to go into the practical economic aspect of it. But apart from that little chauvinistic comment aside, I think No, I mean, jokes apart, you're absolutely right. So we actually did do a Kerala podcast last week with someone who's associated with the BJP, who was talking about the ground game that the BJP is in and how they have their vote share has improved to almost 17%, I think, this time in the local
No,
election.
it was 15. It was 15.
It was 15 to 17%. I think that was the thing.
In the last Lok Sabha, if he's referring to the Panchayat, I don't know, the last Lok Sabha
No,
was
he's
15.
talking about the Panchayat. We're talking about the Panchayat elections.
Okay, it would have gone up to 17.
No, but here is the thing, na? You would expect it to go lower than what it was in Lok Sabha. But unless and until you have upped the ground
No,
game.
see, that lends credence to that gentleman's comment who said
Exactly.
for 2026 we are expecting.
That
Means
is
he's
what I was saying.
projecting this 2% annual growth and saying 2026 something will happen.
See, if unless and until BJP gets a critical mass of there is a critical mass of seats. Like last time that was there for West Bengal, where they won 3, but they were in second place in 10 or 8 or 10, right? So then people know that, boss, they are in contention in 2025 Vidhan Sabha seats. Only then can you be close to winning distance in 15. Right. So then people are like, okay, our votes are not wasted on BJP. Let us start voting for them. And that is what they're hoping for in Kerala this time. If they get about 15-20 MLAs, I mean, which is very hard, but if they're in contest in 15 to 20 seats, which is quite possible, and they get out about 5 to 6 MLAs out of that, that will be huge for the state cadre.
No, see, one thing is certain, it will be huge. Okay. The second thing is that even in Kerala, okay, the critical mass is actually more difficult because it's already a two-way polarized state. Yeah? You actually have to wean partners out of the other fronts. That's not the case in Bengal. So in that way, I would still say Bengal is going to be a smoother ride than Kerala. Whatever it is.
I mean, you're right. Absolutely, it could be. It could be. I'm not denying that at all. It absolutely could be. What is interesting, I think, for us right now to look at in the whole picture, and as I get into the last 10-15 minutes of the podcast, I want to go for. Do you see an improvement on the 2019 Lok Sabha, or do you see that it is inevitable that they will come down? There is no way they can poll 40% without the chief ministerial face, because Mamata is an enigmatic face, no doubt about it, right? So do they have a face that can take on Mamata, or is BJP playing smart, saying we don't have a face that will take on Mamata, so we are not even going to project one?
I think it's the second case, and Bengal has a history for it, Aadit. I remember in 1987, okay, there was a perfectly similar background between the left front and the Congress. Today, the BJP has won 18 seats, Lok Sabha seats in 2019. At that point of time, the Congress won 17 Lok Sabha seats in 1984. Okay, same sort of gung-ho performance, and Mr. Clean is there. Rajiv Gandhi was called Mr. Clean. I don't know if you were born, but like we were all kids that time, and we remember.
No, I wasn't, but I have heard stories.
So he was there, and Mr. Jyoti Basu, in all his election speeches, said that, look, even if you vote for Congress, will PM become CM? So he said, no, that's not going to happen. So Congress did one more tactical error at that point of time. They said, oh, Mr. Basu has become old, he should retire now. That somehow did not go down well with the conservative masses. So, but coming back to the point, one is, yes, the BJP does realize it doesn't have a face, so it's playing the safe strategy. It has to go with the chief minister's face. Second, the party, as I said, it's really gathering a lot of momentum on the ground. What may only perhaps limit them is the face and the geography. So I still do feel the party will not have as much as a precipitous fall from its vote share in the Lok Sabha. It is still going to poll 35% plus. Okay. However, that getting closer to majority is where I say that all the other factors are needed. All the other factors.
Absolutely, that X factor. But let me ask you another question, and this is a lot. I don't know if many people might know about this, but a lot of people are not quite certain about how this works. So let's look at the left alliance, right? You have the Congress and the NCP and stuff, but last time left had CPIM, which is Communist Party of India Marxist, CPI, Communist Party of India, Revolutionary Socialist Party, RSP, All India Forward Bloc, Revolutionary Communist Party of India, Marxist Forward Bloc, Democratic Socialist Party, Party of
West Bengal Socialist Party.
No, and then there is Party of Democratic Socialism, and then there is Communist Party of Bharat. I mean, it is unbelievable, right? So, in such choti parties, क्या होगा? Because they would get like 30 seats, 10
No, no,
seats,
no, no, no,
5
no, no, no.
seats, 2
I tell
seats.
you, wait. Other, there's a history. You need to understand this with a perspective of history. There's a history to this. See, when we went to Bengal in 1996 on a field trip to study how the left, succeeded in ruling for so many years. Uh, at that point of time, we said, why is there a marriage of so many parties? Right? So we actually looked at the vote share of the left front. At that point of time, it used to hover between 47 and 49-50. It would never go below 47. So he said, look, all these small parties, even their election machine is run by the CPM. But they have enough of a local leadership to ensure that the last mile swing vote doesn't go to the Congress. So this entire army of smaller parties is needed, which used to ensure that the left was always above 47%. And now, of course, because it is tradition, they continue keeping those smaller parties with them.
Because I mean, this is like, so if left and Congress is 0+0, these parties and left are 0-0.
Today, when they have slipped below the 30% threshold, these parties will anyways fail to add value. They add value when they are needed for the last mile. That is when you're about 35 or 40 and you need that last sliver of vote. That's when they add value to you.
I'm going to sound very heartless here, but these parties are like papad and dhania, which go great with a meal, but they are not. They are terrible if you just eat them by themselves.
Absolutely, they can't be a meal by themselves.
Yes, absolutely. So before we wrap up, Jay, any last minute predictions? What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think the BJP is going to get to 100, or do you think the BJP is going to have this final flourish at the end?
I still feel 100 is a realistic number, and of course, but the only thing I would still put a caveat about is, as I said, the political tradition of the CPM, the scientific rigging in Bengal. That's something one needs to watch out for.
Absolutely.
So it might work on either ways, because I believe that all those sorts of elements have infiltrated all parties in Bengal, and each party inherits that culture today in Bengal. Okay. But let's see.
Absolutely. So before I let you go, Jai, any recommendations you have for our listeners? We always tell them to books, movies, anything. Or show. It could be a show also.
Oh my God. I
love
seriously
putting people in a spot, because with news consumers, we consume so much news that I always tell them, भाई, it's आप माइंड पॉडकास्ट देखो, पर उसके बाद कुछ ऐसा भी देखो जो दिमाग फ्रेश कर दे, because this is, I'm not saying माइंड पॉडकास्ट दिमाग फ्रेश नहीं करता, but also watch something non-serious. Yeah.
Oh, non-serious. Okay, it's pretty fascinating. I keep telling my office colleagues. See, it's a little mundane, but if you want to feel relaxed, or if you're somewhat unhappy about the way things around are, you should just Google and of course go to YouTube, that is, and watch anything on astrological predictions about India. Okay? And it's very fascinating. If you look at the ones which were done in the 90s, they said India was going to be a superpower in 99, 2000. If you look at the ones which were done in 2001, they said India is going to be a superpower by 2010. If you look at the ones that were done in the early 2011, 12, they say 24, it's a superpower, and here we are. We're in 21 right now. So it always gives you a great sense of relief.
No. Here's my favorite part. I would love to see what they all predicted about 2020 and how the year turned out. So that's actually
by the way, there was only one serious gentleman. I'll even name him. I think it was Ajay Bhambi, who said something is going to happen because of which the way kids are educated is going to change. And that was the closest I found something to coronavirus.
So Ajay Bhambi, the only reason I know is people who watch cricket in 2000s, there used to be a show called Super Selector, and Ajay Bhambi used to do this all cricket and astrology thing on TV. और मुझे तब का याद है, तब क्या होता था, we actually cricket watching was so religious that you even watch the pre-cricket show. अब तो some of the cricket commentary is so bad that even actual cricket, you turn the commentary off. So that is what it is. But my recommendation is going to be, first of all, kudos to the Indian cricket team after being 36 all out. The way they've come back is remarkable. Takes a lot of mental strength. And if anyone responds on the comment saying match to fix tha, go away. Because this is a strange thing that only Indian uncles have, saying, "Arey sab fixed hi tha, sab fixed hi tha." I'm like, okay, I am a little bit less cynical about them. But if you guys were to ask me for my recommendations, I'll recommend a couple of things for you. Right, one is for people who want to watch. A lot of I have not recommended this in a while, but if I have earlier, but I'm going to recommend it again because a lot of questions keep coming to me about American politics. I think still one of the best written political shows on America is the seasons 1 to 4 of The West Wing. You have to watch it. It was written 21 years ago by Aaron Sorkin. Season 1 to 4 is what he wrote. The other seasons were not bad, but season 1 to 4 are outstandingly spectacular. They are with a left bias because he's from the Democratic Party, but he's also written from the other side. But just look at the issues and just listen to it. So if you are looking for American context of what is happening now, a lot of the seeds were sown 20-25 years ago. Look at the show and tell me what you guys think about it. And the other thing I want to recommend is this Netflix show I've been watching called Criminal United Kingdom. It's a criminal procedural show, but it is all set in an interrogation room. And how the police interrogation team, the whole show begins and ends there. They present evidence, they talk to the victim and decide the case in the interrogation room itself. The camera does, so it's all based on dialogue and pictures of the evidence. Fantastic show. Do watch it, guys. But also come back to Mind Makers. Go to the VMR Global channel on YouTube.
Yeah, it's VMR India. We are at
VMR India. I'm sorry, VMR India channel, and subscribe to them. Subscribe to Mind Makers. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, and let us know what you thought about this podcast. We'll have Jay back. I'll be on Jay's show very soon. And we'll be doing a lot of these discussions on elections to come. Numbers is what we love, and if you guys want us to focus on one specific area of West Bengal or one specific state, let us know and we'll focus that.
Absolutely. You give us a state and we'll get to the grind and tell you. And you can trust us. Both of us, even before you're seeing us, we've chatted elections so many times.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy the stuff that comes out. You're just going to enjoy the churn.
So thank you so much, guys, for joining, and we'll be back very soon. It's a wrap.